Hello and welcome to This Week at the Movies. I'm Matt,
I'm Eric.
and we are here to celebrate the summer of 2025. It is Labor Day weekend, which usually unofficially means summer is in the books. Certainly means that for the summer movie season, which typically goes from the first blockbuster weekend in May, which this year was the release of the Thunderbolts, through Labor Day weekend, which this year we got actually Labor Day weekend. It's interesting. A lot of times you get kind of like dumpy movies. Like I remember the Shark Night 3D was a movie I saw on Labor Day because it's the first weekend of college football and a lot of people are traveling. They don't expect you're going to have huge box office, but this year they went another way. We have two actually really good movies, which I will talk about at the end, that came out this Labor Day weekend. We also have the re-release of a classic turning 50 years old. So I don't know if it's just because calendar-wise it feels really early to be having Labor Day weekend, being that it's August 30th.
Yeah.
But it is here, and it's actually next weekend that I would consider more of a dumping ground with The Conjuring Last Rites. And I think that's it. And there's a documentary about the Colorado River, which I'm actually kind of excited about. But
Neat.
a little bit of a different kind of a vibe. But we are going to kick off. We are going to talk about our favorite films of summer, our 5 favorite films of summer. Eric has been watching a lot of things, some of it
I've
good.
been around. I've been watching movies this week on the weeks.
Some of it good.
Yeah.
Some of it underwhelming. I feel
Some
like
of it was Megan 2.0.
So you didn't like it, I take it.
No, it was fine, but I didn't expect it to be so generic based on the fun that the first one had.
So we might be off on our feelings. Like the first Megan, I enjoyed that we called it Mithrigan and some things like that. I wouldn't say I loved it. I thought it was a perfectly serviceable movie that you would dump the first or second weekend in January.
Yeah, it was like a good January movie.
Megan 2.0, first of all, not really a horror movie.
No, not at all.
We'll get that out of the way. But as a comedy, which is where I have it lodged in rankings, I actually sort of enjoyed it. I liked it better than the first one.
No, it was actually a good movie. It was a well-made movie. I just was massively like, wow, really? We're going to do a movie with all the same beats as like that we've seen ever since Terminator 2, and we've had like whenever we've had the villain come back and
people haven't gotten the message. No matter how many movies we have that tell us that artificial intelligence is a bad idea and it's going to be the downfall of humanity, which, happy anniversary to those who celebrate Skynet Day was yesterday.
Yeah.
But people still keep pressing forward with AI. Like you're watching actual news stories about people who offed themselves because AI impersonated a person and gave them advice and helped them write a suicide note. Guys, we should not be going wholesale into AI.
No, we shouldn't.
It's like when scientists are actually talking about cloning and bringing back dinosaurs. We have 7 movies that tell us what a bad idea that is.
Absolutely. I have such mixed feelings because AI is really terrible for us as a society. The potential shift of AI, like people in college are already moving towards getting degrees on the back of AI and not having to do work or research themselves. And it's going to get better. It's gonna be like Wikipedia. Wikipedia comes out, everyone's like, you can't use Wikipedia as a source. Wikipedia starts citing their sources, starts becoming an index that's more reliable, and now it becomes a go-to spot to start your research. You get something like ChatGPT, and you ask it to give you a research background on a subject that you want to, study. And we get a couple years down the line and we start making scientific progress because people are able to consolidate literature reviews and things like that en masse, and they're able to push forward projects a lot quicker. We could see the advancement of so many things that are productive in society that it could be worth it. But so far it's not. And so far it's extremely damaging, and all of the dysfunctional things people want to do with it is like, Yeah, whatever. Movies have a point. AI is dangerous.
Yeah, and at first it was kind of, a few of them that we had right in the wake of the writer strike, which a predominant sticking point for the writers and actors with they didn't want the
Yeah.
rise of AI. That felt a little self-serving, but they're also not entirely wrong. And if I can get a Megan 2.0, I can appreciate that a point being driven home. You get something like Afraid, where the AI was capitalized, and I'm 100% out. So,
Yeah.
as with everything, the good and the bad. And that is a perfect metaphor for the summer. I think before we start taking off specific movies, I mentioned this to you. I've mentioned this to our friend Ricky. It feels like this year has had a lot of good or enjoyable or fun movies, but not that many like exceptional or great movies. I there's only 7 movies I've seen this year that I've given 4 stars or above, and I'm not free and liberal with my stars, like some people. But that is kind of an indication. Usually after summer and as you're heading into fall, we have a few more movies that we would consider bangers. And I have a lot of movies that I've enjoyed that I thought were good, but the fact that The Accountant 2 is still sitting as my 7th favorite film of the year tells me I hope we get a robust haul in the fall with
Yeah.
the more serious and engrossing movies can come. And I think at this time last year, I probably didn't have, I still like Dune Part 2, but the further I remove from it and also reading the book has convinced me that Conclave was my favorite movie from last year.
Okay.
It's the one that I would go back to time and again. We hadn't gotten that. There was a lot of things that came out last fall that ended up being good, but there are usually a few big films of summer or the early part of year that stick around. I think you and I both loved Sinners, which was a little bit before the summer movie season. That is still my
Yeah.
number one. I'm waiting to see if it gets displaced. But what was your favorite movie from this summer?
So, if I can't count Sinners because it's not technically in the top, it's Weapons. It's a very recent release. There's maybe a little bit of recency bias, but I really enjoy Zach Kreger. I've enjoyed that whole team all the way since Whitest Kids You Know days. And especially hearing him talk behind the scenes about how he's written this story in processing the grief and loss of Trevor Moore. Like, I can feel that in the sudden absence and tragedy of the characters and trying to process that. He writes characters so well, so distinctly, and he layers how you learn about them into their actions and their choices along the way rather than having exposition dumps. That movie is structured in an amazing fashion. The balance of humor to horror is better than Barbarian by far. And I think it was just a massive step forward for him in like every way. And like, I was horrified and like on the edge of my seat, as it were. And like, it just was absolutely solid. Everyone gave a solid performance. I love like hilarious, weird things about it, like how just Josh Brolin is just this big kind of asshole who just like elbows his way through the movie and then walks away when he gets what he wants. And like, there's just so many things to get into about it. It well, you know what? I guess I'm going to leave it at that. It's just spectacularly well performed, well shot, well edited, well structured, and well written.
Yeah, and that I really loved Weapons as well. People heard me talk about that. That's my second favorite film of summer, so I'm pretty close to right there with you. It was interesting. I listened to a long interview that Sean Fennessy did with Zach Kreger, and he talked about that inspiration. Also interesting, he wrote it before Barbarian. It just isn't the movie that got made first. Or he was doing it while he was doing Barbarian. It was something like that. It was all part of kind of do it in the same time frame. And I guess he has some other things that are coming up that I am kind of interested in. He's working on a Resident Evil pitch, and that is
It
a
sounds like he has
franchise.
the right attitude towards it.
Yeah, and that is a franchise that I've liked some of that we've seen, but I'll be curious to see, but then I liked the first Resident Evil movie from Paul W.S. Anderson with Mila Jovovich. I liked that one, and I liked one of the sequels. I can't, they all kind of blur together, but one of them I liked better than the others. But some of the reboots and some of the things they've done, they tried to do a TV show. They tried to do a reboot of it not too long ago that was horrendous. So be interesting to see. But, much like Barbarian, I thought this one had kind of some interesting twists, some terrifying imagery that can't be unseen. And I thought it also had some funny moments, some funny line readings and things.
7 hot dogs.
Yeah. I just thought they did a really good job with the acting and things. And that one is one of my favorites of the year. It's still up in my top 5 of the year so far. But my favorite movie of summer was F1, which is, it's a shame. A lot of people are trying to catch up with it now that it's available on VOD. This is also one of the movies that I've seen this year that if you didn't watch it on the biggest screen possible, you missed out. Because the visuals are stunning and it makes some sense. It's the same director that gave us Top Gun Maverick, and that was a summer blockbuster that was so well done that it remained up in my top movies of the year all the way through to the end. And I think F1 will as well. I've seen it twice. I saw it a preview screening when it opened, but my dad is a big car racing fan. I took my parents and my sister, and they had a lot of fun. I'm watching it a second time. It was just as big a blast. The racing sequences are great. I like the performances back and forth, although I don't think I have any of the actors still in my top 5 for performances for the year. But universally, I thought they were all good. It gives you what you want, like emotion, adrenaline. I know our friend Ricky, this is his favorite film of the year so far.
Hey Ricky,
I still have Sinners a notch above. I need to rewatch Sinners.
Sinners just had so that originality. Yeah.
And the music and Sinners may also be part of the reason I'm all in on the Buffalo Bills for this NFL season. I don't. The quarterback for the Bills is married to Haley Steinfeld.
Oh, good. I thought it was a Silence of the Lamb reference.
I forgot you're not all up on NFL team.
Yeah.
No, Haley Steinfeld's married to Josh Allen, who's the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
So
cool.
But no, F1 was definitely there, and then Weapons, not that far behind, is still up in my top 5. Was my second. What was your second favorite film this summer?
Okay, so literally after number 1, it gets really hard for me. I have a top 10, and all of them percolate because they're all very distinct. So I'm going to briefly blurb out what is bubbling near the surface. And then I'm going to tell you which one I have to land with. It's their Life of Chuck, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, Superman, Bring Her Back, 28 Years Later, Thunderbolts, Elio, and F1. And ultimately, the one that I have to put in the number 2 slot is Bring Her Back. Bring Her Back devastated me. I hated my experience. I can't even look at that face for too long. It was like horrendous what happened, but it's like the true nature of horror and devastation. Like that movie will leave you absolutely wrecked, but it's so tight and so like I don't know, like it's supernatural, but it's so real. And it's like the from the people who made Talk to Me, I have a lot of problems with Talk to Me, but Bring Her Back is like just it does that great thing that movies like Us struggles with, and Weapons had like a little bit of struggle with this too, but I still think did an amazing job with it, where they just explain the supernatural elements enough to make the story work and all of the emotions feel earned and real. And they don't over explain the supernatural elements where the cracks start to show and you start to question how everything works. The gore and special effects of that movie are going to haunt me for years. Like, especially the kid biting the table. Oh my gosh. Some of the like the stripping the skin off, like there's like I can feel that movie, and I don't like feeling that movie. I feel like it's constantly over my shoulder looking over me. That movie was absolutely devastating, but a movie that can move me that much is powerful art. And so I have to acknowledge that it has that impact. So bring her back. Also,
Which
just
I
straight
feel like
up,
I failed you because that's one of the few summer movies I just never saw because it was right in that range when we were traveling all the time. And
oh, oh man. Oh man.
I didn't care for Talk to Me. So I was like,
Yeah, Talk to Me
uh,
has issues.
I'm trying to think what else came out that weekend. It was like I had two choices. And I'm like, you know, I'm just going to see this one.
It's
It was
Sally
like,
Hawkins, right?
it
That's
was
her
the
name.
end of May, I feel like. Yeah, Sally Hawkins is in there.
She is honestly probably in my Oscar list. She probably is my Oscar list. I don't know if she
Well,
counts
and
as supporting or lead.
May was such a weird month. I think I was burned out because I had seen so many horror movies. Oh, I went and saw Karate Kid Legends instead.
Ah,
That they came out the same
good movie.
weekend, and that was the one of the weekends we went on a cruise, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to see all of them because there was also like four things that came out the next weekend, and then three things that came out the weekend after that, and I had like 10 days between trips. So
Mhm.
I think I saw Karate Kid Legends. I enjoyed Legends, but we had seen so many horror movies in May. I think that was like all that came out because Clown in a Cornfield, Fight or Flight, which I know is an action movie, but is also kind of a horror movie. Final Destination, Bloodlines, Hurry Up Tomorrow. And I was like, I don't need another horror movie. Well, we had seen so many horror movies in March and April too. Like the first half of the year was really dominated by them. I think I needed a break, which worked well because by the time I came back to Weapons, I was like, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready. But sometimes in the summer, I just want like a blockbuster. And I did enjoy Karate Kid Legends. I knew
Mhm.
there was something. It was like, do I see Bring Her Back or Karate Kid Legends? And I am gonna go watch the
That's a good
hour
choice.
hour and 40-minute lift me up with martial arts.
Karate Kid was great. Like that movie is better than it needed to be.
I don't need sadness in my life, but I
Yeah.
will see Bring Her Back. I'm kind of just waiting because HBO Max has the deal with A24, and they drop
Okay.
they're just getting ready to drop Friendship, which is another summer movie I didn't
Right.
see. So I'll pick them up, and I
Friendship
will
was so weird.
see them. I'll try to brace myself. What I hear you saying is Bring Her Back is not the date night movie I should pitch to my wife.
No. No. It was a date night movie for us, and we were not okay.
Uh, my number 3 film from summer is one of those summer blockbusters. Is one of the few films I've given 4 or more stars, and I know it's had mixed reviews. You went with the other superhero tentpole from July, and I will be honest, I need to probably watch them both again. Where I'll put it this way: I have been reflecting that even though I enjoy like the Marvel films, I think I am more of a DC person because of when I was born in 81 and the movies, the superhero movies I had growing up, which were Christopher
Superman and
Reeve
Batman.
Batman and that run of 90s Batman films. Like one of the first superhero movies I remember getting to see in theaters was Batman Forever. And that hasn't protected my love for it because I think it is the worst Batman and the worst Batman film. But I still have fond memory. I still own it. I've still seen it 25 times. I still have fond memories of going and seeing it in the theater. I just don't
I
think
have
it's
the
a good.
cups. I have the McDonald's glass cups with the.
Every time I hear "Kissed from a Rose," I'm transported back. But I still don't think it's a good movie. But I think that I'm just more of an asshole when it comes to Superman's background and Batman's background, and I don't have the same affinity. And so my number 3 is long way of saying is Fantastic Four, First Step,
Yeah,
which I was
it
incredibly
was great.
pessimistic about.
You were
I
like
was
ready to hate that
incredibly
movie.
pessimistic. I thought the trailer sucked.
Yeah.
But there was something magical about the movie. It has been the Marvel movies this summer. I thought they both worked. I enjoyed
Cranked
Thunderbolts.
up.
I enjoyed
Cranked up.
Thunderbolts.
Captain
But I
America was
think
like
they
bleh.
okay.
Thunderbolts was good.
Captain America was not during the summer. So if we were including
No,
that.
but like
But I
Marvel's
actually thought
trajectory.
like Ironheart had some fascinating moments and actually
Oh, I haven't watched
introduced
Ironheart.
Mephisto.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. That came kind of in between them in June, kind of unceremoniously dumped. But I thought Florence Pugh was incredible and carried Thunderbolts. I thought Vanessa Kirby, she is. If I'm looking, I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure that two female leads, 3 female leads from superhero movies this summer are among my 5 favorite performances of the summer or of the
Yeah.
year so far. Vanessa Kirby right up there. I thought she was incredible. I had incredible misgivings, as you know, from the moment they announced Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic. But I actually didn't mind his performance, and it has been fascinating to me to watch all the reaction and all the people that have simply taken a giant dump on it. I liked the way they built this kind of retro future Jetsons-y world. I liked the color palette. I liked the style. I liked the way they put it together. It felt like a quick hitter. It was sub 2 hours. There was emotional beats that I thought worked. I was really nervous about Pascal and Joseph Quinn after seeing Gladiator 2, which I still think
Yeah, that's right.
is a giant flaming bag of dog poo thrown at the audience. But I should have known I couldn't judge because I think Denzel Washington's a fantastic actor, and I thought he was horrendous in that film too. I think it might just be a discredit. When Ridley Scott now mentions making an idea for Gladiator 3, I'm like, I hope you retire before this comes to fruition because it was that bad. But this movie, I liked it. I had a fun ride. I thought everybody was going to love it, and it's been fascinating to me that the reaction has been more tepid,
a little polarized.
A little polarized, a lot more tepid. Some people who have been effusive with their praise of Superman, which I thought was a fine movie, but not one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Although I do want to see it again. I thought this was better, but I thought both of them were better than my meager expectations. And maybe part of it is you just shouldn't have high hopes for anything.
At this point, why would you? At this point, haven't we all been beaten down by like excess and a lack of quality control? That's the thing. That's why I included Captain America, is because there's this statement with Deadpool and Wolverine like coming out after the writer's strike, moving forward. They had a new creative direction and a new angle and a new trajectory moving towards the next Avengers movies. And we've been watching step by step as those puzzle pieces have had to be put together off of a pile of crap over phase 4 and phase 5 with these hit and miss movies and hit and miss TV shows that are all this hodgepodge of now you have to put like a cherry on top of this weird sundae. And I think slowly, I don't think Captain America was successful but it took a step forward in consolidating everything. I think Thunderbolts brought the emotional core of some very like secondary characters back and showed you how engaging the world and the characters can be. And I think Fantastic Four showed you the imagination that Marvel can have and how true to the characters in the comics that the studio still is.
Well, and I am a Marvel completist, even if I'm not a purist. So even though I think Captain America: Brave New World was bravely terrible, I still own it.
Yeah.
So you got to put it in there. As my wife calls it, it's the Red Ross movie.
Yeah.
'Cause that's all.
It is. They took Sam Wilson's Captain America movie and they made it the Hulk sequel they never got to make.
And that nobody was clamoring for. It's
Yeah.
the Hulk sequel without the Hulk,
Yeah.
ironically. So, what is your next pick for summer movies?
So my number 3 is Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning, but with an asterisk. It is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, my first time experience in the theater. I firmly believe that on rewatches, it's going to be one of the sloggier, like chore to get through out of the Mission Impossible franchise. It is not like the top of the franchise for me, but that first experience in the theater, it was laced with such a perfect amount of nostalgia and the holding your breath because you don't know how things are going to play out. That tension was executed so perfectly. It sustained itself over 3 hours. It was a phenomenal experience, and that rockets it up there.
That's another movie that I think ended up having a more polarizing reaction than I was expecting. Because I, like you, we go and see them right away, and I usually try not to listen to or look at any reviews or anything until after I've seen something, because I don't want to catch something that's going to influence what I'm looking for or looking
Mhm.
at. And I enjoyed it. I had it up in my top 12 for a while until we've seen a few other things that kind of pushed it down. But I thought it was well done, and I agree with you. Like the nostalgia hits, and also some really fun performances. I thought Ving Rhames and his arc was
Big
great.
Rames, Haley Atwell.
Tremel Tillman was
Mhm.
incredible scene stealer. It had a great cast, had some really great action set pieces. I understand that maybe it was a touch too long and maybe the plot was a little convoluted, but I don't know if I've necessarily gone to the last few Mission Impossible movies for the plot.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how they have those memes, I go for the plot, and then they say the plot, and they have, like, a pretty actress that's in it. For
Yeah,
those
yeah.
movies, it would be, I go for the plot, and then the plot would be, like, Tom Cruise
Tom
hanging
Cruise
off
hanging off
something.
the thing.
Yeah, hanging off something. So, I thought the action set piece on the submarine and that
The
plane, the
submarine.
biplane thing, which apparently they filmed like 4 years ago because they were originally only gonna do 1 movie, and that was supposed to be part of it, was incredible.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And that's the thing that impressed the movie about me is that was unbelievable and it was up there on top of one of the most insane things that Tom Cruise has done for this franchise. Probably the most insane thing based on just like the sheer moving parts of it all. Like he's done a moving train, he's done heights with like the Burj Khalifa, and he's hung off of the side of a plane. This time he kind of upped the ante of everything into a combined planes flying at each other, climbing from one to the other. Like it really kind of was the peak of everything. But I was still so invested in what was happening outside of the plane. I was actually waiting more for what was going on in the bunker where Haley Atwell had to pull the thing. My anticipation was actually a little more contained in that, because a part of my brain can check out and be like, I know Tom Cruise is going to pull off this stunt. I know that this is going to go smoothly. So, like, the movie got me for more than just the incredible stunt work, and it just kicked it. I just think they rocked it. I don't know.
My next pick, definitely not the action film of summer, but I thought it's weird. I guess it's weird to say this, but I thought it was one of the most beautifully joyful and life affirming films of the year for me so far, and that is The Life of Chuck.
Mine is also The Life of Chuck. So
Yeah, and you and I both really appreciate Mike Flanagan, and I've appreciated the emotional depth of his storytelling in a lot of different projects. And for me, he's probably best known for doing horror projects, but it hasn't necessarily been the horror aspect that has been what has touched me. And there was just such beauty in some of the visuals here, but there is even more beauty in the ideas and the performances and the relationships here. It was this. I guess you and I are really in a run of picking polarizing movies because it feels like this is a movie that either has washed over people emotionally and they've been smitten with it, or it didn't work emotionally for them at all and they've dragged it. And I get it, but for me, it worked. It's I think it's my number 8 movie of the year so far. Still.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So Mike Flanagan, I've seen so many of his projects and I've rewatched so much of his TV shows that you kind of always know the horror in his stories is laced with heart and tragedy. And in this movie, they tee you up for a little bit of horror and tragedy, but this is a movie that is all heart, that is laced with horror. It's the dark edges that try to creep in and the resilience of hope that stands apart from that. It's so well directed. I love what they did with the structure. You talked about the book possibly being structured traditionally chronologically.
Mhm.
And for me, I thought when I was watching the movie, how would I feel about this movie chronologically? And I feel like the devastation of the sound effect of the first star blinking out of existence. There are so few movies this year that have given me a beat like that, where it's like a shock and a sense of dread and a sense of like helplessness that I don't know that you could replicate if you kind of were able to pick up where the movie is going because you already knew what was happening to Chuck and who he was. So I enjoyed the journey. I don't know. This is another one. I don't know how I'm going to feel on a second time watching it when I already know what's going to happen. But just like the dance sequences and Tom Hiddleston being perfect and Chiwetel Ejiofor is like great and just
And Karen Gillan.
Mark Hamill, Karen Gillan, like
and Mia Sara, who we haven't really seen since, or who people don't really think about. Is it Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
she plays the grandma dear.
Mm-hmm. That beautiful, but the dancing combined with his dancing, like, oh my gosh. Yeah, like it's just a beautiful movie, and it makes me think so many like life affirming. Like I needed that after,
well, and
there's of things.
There's something in this idea. So one of my favorite movies of all time is Arrival, and Arrival really touches on the idea that if you knew how it was going to end and that it wouldn't end beautifully,
Yeah.
would you still undertake what might be a beautiful journey?
Mm-hmm.
And this movie touches on that too, although you don't know in some ways, I think that makes it more genius as a film, because in the book, you would clearly have known once when you get to these adult segments what all these things mean, and seeing it in reverse, you don't fully, especially if you haven't read the novella that it's based on, you don't know that's the choice he's making, much like how they framed Arrival. You don't know that that's the choice that she's made until you get to the end. And that just struck me. There was a lot of charming things. There was a lot of things that I enjoyed in the middle, but when you kind of get to that revelation at the end, it really just sealed it for me. And it was a little movie. It unfortunately got released the same weekend as freaking Ballerina.
Right.
Right between Karate Kid, Ballerina, and
it got like low
How to
release,
Train Your
release.
Dragon.
Yeah.
So it's probably a movie that I think might have hit for people more if it had been released in September or October, but that's just not what we got. Or even if it had been released in March or April. It was a bad beat, I think, in some ways, that got drop there. I'm hopeful that more people will catch it as it comes to streaming and things like that, and will appreciate the journey.
Mm-hmm.
My fifth one of summer, I kind of went back and forth. I landed on Wes Anderson's The Phoenician.
Oh yeah.
Which, I think Wes Anderson has been underrated for us in a certain way, that we always, you know what you're going to get from his movies. They are entertaining, they are wild, they are creative. He's one of the most unique visual storytellers working out there. But I feel like, and this is true of me too, you appreciate it, but it just doesn't always rise to where it probably should, based on the impressiveness of the craft and things like that. I enjoyed Asteroid City when it came out a couple of years ago. I enjoyed The French Dispatch, probably my favorite of his movies. Moonrise Kingdom, The Grand Budapest Hotel. You always get these movies. I look forward to seeing them. I enjoy them while they're there, but sometimes they just don't make those top cut lists. And Phoenician Scheme, probably not a movie that you're thinking. This actually was released the same. Life of Chuck came out the same weekend as Ballerina and The Phoenician Scheme.
Mm-hmm.
You're right in between How to Train Your Dragon, Karate Kid, and Mission Impossible. So it's like we were blessed with like a run of really fun things, but there were too many things going on in the summer. But I enjoyed this one. I thought Benicio del Toro and Mia Thrappleton were great here. But Michael Cera might be my MVP.
He steals the movie. Oh my gosh.
The movie. He's still up there as one of my favorite supporting actor performances of the year. Yeah. So I really had a lot of fun with this movie. It has remained up in my top 10, going through. And if you haven't seen it, it is now streaming on Peacock. It is worth going and checking out. You will have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So what is going to be your pick for the last of the best of summer?
So I'm having a gut feeling, and I might regret this later, but whatever. Because I like Superman, but I just got this in the mail after ordering it this week. And it has been reminding me of so much. Like, it's been a few months since it came out, but the impact and the weight of the characters of this like came with me. It's Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts has a stacked cast of like characters that are getting redemption for movies where they gave performances that were either edited down into different, like, you have Wyatt Russell, and you have Ghost, her actress. I don't remember her name.
Ghost. Let me look it up.
Not Taskmaster. That's Olga Kurylenko.
Yeah, I was like, you mean who died?
Yeah, no. Even Olga Kurylenko, like for the second that they CGI'd her face to pretend that she was in the movie, like it's
Hannah John Kamen.
Hannah John Kamen. Yes, she usually gets like relegated to just being like a kind of a stereotypical growling villain in like Ready Player One and Ant-Man and the Wasp. And she got to bring so much more to the returning character. Wyatt Russell got to bring so much more. David Harbour got to bring kind of more of the same, but he still was such a great heart to the group. And Lewis Pullman and Florence Pugh might have given some of my favorite performances in a superhero movie in years. The concept, I wish that this movie needed a little less to be a big blockbuster and could have been slightly more of an emotional piece. I would have loved to have seen more of the characters trapped in the void, in the memories that haunt them, and we learn about them when we help them navigate, rooms to go through what they're going through. I mean, but there was just enough to get the point across, and just having Lewis Pullman consumed by that darkness, and so many things that you can choose to take away from the movie or just enjoy the emotions on the sleeve of the movie. it's incredible. And Florence Pugh, her journey towards becoming a hero stands out among the origin stories of other characters. Like Iron Man is someone who needs to learn responsibility. Thor is also someone who needs to learn responsibility, but he's one who learns that he needs to give up his responsibility. Captain America is someone who has to learn to hold his ground and stand for something and be something for people to look up to. The Hulk is someone who needs to learn to control his impulses, and Yelena, Florence Pugh, I don't even think she has a superhero name. I think she's just Yelena.
Yeah. I don't think she does either.
But she sold for me an arc that never quite landed with Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, which is how can I reconcile my past and become something that is fulfilling and like a Maslow's hierarchy of needs self-actualization tier thing. Like, how can I become somebody that I truly think is a person of merit and valuable? Like, how can I become a hero because that fulfills who I am as a person? And you do that by caring for other individuals, and that personal connection with Lewis Pullman. There's so much depth that is not really actually in the movie because it just follows the beats of being a blockbuster, but it's just enough there for you to really think about the characters and pull this stuff out. And I think that's why it kind of lands just above Superman for me.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed Thunderbolts as well. Another movie I've seen a couple of times. We saw it in theaters, and my wife enjoyed it enough, having seen it in theaters, that when we were on our Disney cruise this summer, Disney Cruise Line plays all the first run movies that they own on the cruise. That's part of your cruise ticket. So we went and watched Thunderbolts again at the Disney Theater on the cruise ship. And still had a blast with it. I think it's really good. Some people have loved it even more, have talked about it as a top Marvel. If you listen to our friends on the Popcorn People podcast that's on our network, Ricky and Dom, both of them have Thunderbolts as top 5 Marvel for them. And I think it's a movie that's really resonated with people. It asks some deeper questions about ourselves and our emotional states that I think are kind of beautiful. That's, I think, one of the reasons my wife really loved it. She said she loved the characterization of depression, and how it can consume you. And, I think the performances are really wonderful. Florence Pugh is up in my top 5. And I think, just as a bonus, we'll end this summer segment by talking about Superman, because I don't know if you can even really talk about summer without it. I think both of us liked it. I recently got it. I feel like I need to watch it again, because I mentioned some of the baggage, and there were some things I really rubbed against, but it is probably one of the summer movies that I have thought about the most, and have, almost, there are very few circumstances where I don't score a movie right after I watch it. It was 24 hours after I watched this before I decided on what I was going to score it, because I just couldn't decide how I felt. And there are some things that I thought were transcendent. I mentioned that I have 3 female performances from superhero movies this summer in my top 5 favorite of the year. Number 1 for me, my favorite female performance of the year, is Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. I thought she was incredible. I thought they were incredible together. There are some visuals in this that are incredible. There are some sequences in this that are incredible. There are some things I don't like about how he's building the world that I've rubbed against in James Gunn's DC projects, that I'm bumping against watching Peacemaker right now, that I bumped against hard watching The Suicide Squad, which is a movie that I have never brought myself to revisit, even though I own it.
I mean, it's officially not canon, even though Amanda Waller is the same cast and John Cena is still Peacemaker. That is officially not a part of this universe.
Actually not true, because they just cut pieces of it back into Peacemaker, which they have retconned into this universe by adding the Justice Gang from the movie. They edited the events of that movie into the second episode of Peacemaker.
Right. But there are still like the plot of the Suicide Squad can't happen in this universe because the Suicide Squad is still canon with David Ayer's Suicide Squad from the
I know, but
Spider-Verse.
This was what I always said was going to be a problem, but he's retconning all of his things back into it. They literally cut a sequence directly from that film into episode 2, and they went back for Peacemaker season 2 and erased the Justice League and put in put in his Justice Gang, and they have Hawkgirl and Guy Gardner and the new Maxwell Lord in Peacemaker. So
man, that is so annoying.
They were still referencing Amanda Waller. They still
James Gunn considers the Suicide Squad to be light canon for the new DC universe, meaning its core events are considered to have happened, but some details may be altered or ignored to fit the new continuity.
Yep.
That's so annoying. That's so annoying.
That's what I'm saying. You can say it's that you don't think it is, and I get that argument, but if they were going to start over, he needed to wipe Peacemaker and stuff, which he's never going to do, because who is the number 2 on the call sheet for Peacemaker?
Number 2
on the call sheet
is I don't know. I haven't watched
his wife. Jennifer Holland. Harcourt. So he can't get rid of him, and he's put her into everything. That's the whole thing. They're gonna have a hard time because, like, they went to purposely retcon Peacemaker's first season into the new DC. When they did the previously on, they erased the
original Justice League,
and they put Justice Gang, and then they had the Justice Gang people in that premiere episode. And in this episode, they literally played the sequence of him killing Rick Flag Jr. They cut it into the episode. So, but leaving those things aside, those are frustrations that I've had. There are frustrations that I have about some of the world building. But I think they
you go through all this effort to make a Superman movie that is like an amazing introduction to a whole new world to explore, and then you just go like, nope, that's not the first one. You have to know about the Suicide Squad.
Well, they put Peacemaker in it in the Superman movie. I mean, I knew they were retconning all those things together.
But they kind of promised that season 2 of Peacemaker was going to be a multiverse hopping thing where the original Peacemaker jumps into and replaces the Peacemaker that we saw in Superman, and like that was how he was going to be a part of this new canon, and the other stuff was not going to be canon. And then they just decided not to do that.
They are doing a multiverse thing on Peacemaker, and he's jumping into another universe, but it was made pretty clear that his universe is the one that, what are you gonna do? But
James Gunn.
It's tough for me because, Guardians of the Galaxy is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still by far my favorite Marvel movie. But I do wonder I had never even heard of Guardians of the Galaxy before I saw that movie. So there was no way anything in that movie was going to ruin my impression of that. But there are things that I really like about the Superman archetype and backstory that they altered here that rub me the wrong way. But there are things that I just really loved about the movie too. And I feel like I'm going to have to watch it again and wrestle with it. there are a handful of movies where I end up either raising or lowering my score, after I've considered them. And I wonder if that's going to be the case with Superman, because I've wrestled with it and so many people have loved it. I liked the Snyderverse more than most people, I think. Um, not as much as like the hardcore legion of fans that are just waiting for everything to fail. But it's a different vision. I didn't think it was a bad movie. I enjoyed it more than I was expecting, and there were things about it that I just really loved. But it's going to be interesting. And, it might be one of those movies that it's hard to fully appraise how you feel about it until we've seen a little bit more of this DC get pushed out too.
I don't know. Everything else about the DC universe, I'm on edge because I don't want James Gunn to touch it. He only cares about what he cares about, and he considers everything he doesn't care about that nobody else cares about it either. So he doesn't care about flexing to make fan dreams and reality come true for people who are passionate about things he's not passionate about. And for him to just like sweep in and just make arbitrary decisions without like giving like an actual hard, because I'm sorry, if the Suicide Squad is canon, then the Snyderverse is canon. Yeah. It just is, because Suicide Squad has Ezra Miller's Flash in it and Ben Affleck's Batman in it. And like when you directly connect these movies as direct sequels to one another, like you have to make a clear statement on what you want, but he clearly doesn't care enough. He cares about, he wants Peacemaker, and he cares about, he wants that story that he cares about to be true, but he doesn't care. So I'm interested in Clayface, and I'm interested in Batman Brave and the Bold. And in Superman, the key thing is Superman works. Superman and Lois Lane works. Now, Mr. Terrific, who's clearly someone he cares about, works, and Guy Gardner is extremely well done. Hawk Girl is really well done.
I'm maybe interested about that Lanterns series too, because they're going to have a few people as Green Lantern. And I like,
and James Gunn's not directing it, so I'm 100% excited.
Well, even more interesting, Damon Lindelof, and I can't remember who the other writer is, worked on it, and so that was a creative team that I was interested in, and I like Aaron Pierre, who they're going to have as the other Green Lantern, and Kyle Chandler's in there, which I think could be a lot of fun. So I'm cautiously optimistic about that. Chris Mundy, that was the other creator who's done some. It's interesting because he's done a lot of like darker crime stuff. He's worked on True Detective, Ozark, and Criminal Minds, among others, which isn't what you totally typically think of. But Damon Lindelof has done a lot of dark drama too. So I'm wondering if it's going to be a little heavier in tone, which actually works for me. That was one of the things I liked about the Snyderverse, is it felt a little somber and darker. It felt like a different kind of superhero world than what we are constantly getting with Marvel.
Yeah.
Whereas Superman feels like it's yanging back the other way.
Well, it was going to, because Guardians of the Galaxy's success bled so much into the DNA of Marvel. Like it set the tone for the humor that they were going to do. It set the entire tone. They even used the same graphics to show you where you are in space for the entire cosmic side of the MCU. Like it showed them that a shift in Thor's world can move towards the comedic. Like Marvel kind of became a little bit closer to what James Gunn's vision was. And now James Gunn is running DC. So
I will say my biggest probably surprise of the year, I was 100% out on Crypto when I saw that in the trailers. I was like, no.
Yeah, but he was great.
None of
me wants that Supergirl cameo.
But I actually did enjoy Crypto. Crypto's currently sitting as my second favorite animal performance of the year. My favorite animal performance of the year is actually in a movie I'll talk about in a minute. But
okay,
Um, I don't know. It worked for me, and
Yeah.
there were a lot of things that worked for me. There are just
Oh,
some
and Lex
things.
Luthor. They nailed Lex Luthor.
Yeah, and I thought they're interdynamic, and there were some creative things. The way that we meet Superman in media res, I thought there was something creative about the repetition of three in that introductory. It was a lot to take in when you're reading, but I will say when they make another one, which said they're doing, it would be nice. Him as Superman worked, but we don't know how he'll work or if he works as Clark Kent, because there was like
This is a little bit, yeah.
there pretty much nothing.
Well,
One he made one trip to the newspaper office. We barely saw the Daily Planet people. You see Lois a lot because she's doing other things. You see Jimmy a lot because he's out doing some
yeah.
other things. But also, no one ever noticed that Clark was just like completely gone from the.
Mhm.
I mean, even in other ones where he's missing, they cover for him. They make an excuse. There's, I don't know. It was
Mhm.
that we might file under something he doesn't care about.
Yeah.
All right. Well, those are some of the films of summer. I'm going to talk about films from this weekend, but first, it is time for Explain a Movie Plot Poorly. I'm going to give you the clue, and I will let you sit on it while I talk about this weekend's releases. A young girl doesn't win the lottery, but she claims it anyway. So I mentioned this Labor Day weekend. We got a couple of big releases. The first one is from director Darren Aronofsky, a guy who has made some fascinating films. I have not often resonated with a lot of his films, but I was curious because I enjoyed the trailer for Caught Stealing, which is based on a book. It is set back in the late 90s in New York City. And we follow a former baseball player turned bartender, Hank, played by Austin Butler, who is kind of trying to live a quiet life. The film was written by Charlie Houston, who also made the novel, so probably Hughes pretty close to that. Hank, has a girlfriend, Yvonne, played by Zoe Kravitz, who is a paramedic. He's trying to figure out what to do with his life. His neighbor, Russ, kind of punk rocker from England, is heading out of town, asks him to watch the cat. Russ, played by Matt Smith. And that ends up drawing him into this big criminal world, because it turns out Russ was a middleman for an important deal between a couple of warring factions. And you go on kind of this wild ride. I will say it went in some unexpected directions. There are some tough and some sad things. This is actually one of my favorite Austin Butler performances. We've made some jokes that since he was Elvis, it's been hard for him to seemingly shed that Elvis vocal inflection. I did not pick that up in this one, which was a refreshing change. This is probably one of, or possibly my favorite Darren Aronofsky film. I have not, I know there are people that swear by The Wrestler and Black Swan. I saw those movies. Once was enough for me. I'm good. I'm not going to the Black Swan re-release parties this fall, but I had a good time with this one. I'm giving it a thumbs up. I thought it was a fun ride. It has a really great cast. Liev Schreiber and Vincent D'Onofrio pop up, and Carol Kane in the third act. I really had some fun with them. Regina King has a nice part here. Griffin Dunne plays the bar owner who he works for, has some fun interactions. It is a great cast. Butler kind of really carries this all the way through, but I had a lot of fun with him in this movie. Do you need a clue, or are you still pondering?
I need the second clue.
Hint: a lot of kids die.
Oh,
The other movie that came out this weekend is The Roses, which is another one that is based on a famous novel called War of the Roses, which was previously adapted as a film starring Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner, which co-starred Danny DeVito, who directed it. Of course, the novel written by Warren Adler. This new adaptation comes from Tony McNamara, director Jay Roach. It follows the same idea: a married couple, Theo, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, and Ivy, played by Olivia Colman. We pick up the beginning of the movie at a marital therapy session that just is not going well, but indicates that they have some cracks in their relationship. We go back, see how they first got together, see how they kind of moved from England to California and started building their lives. It follows a similar trajectory of the first film, but makes some modern updates and changes. At one point in this movie, Olivia Colman had been the stay-at-home mom, and she was just getting into starting her own restaurant. And Theo was a successful architect. He has a disastrous occurrence with one of his projects that ends up costing him his job just at the same time as his wife's new restaurant is taking off, and they kind of flip roles. And he ends up having to channel his energy into raising their two kids, and she channels hers into building this kind of restauranting empire. And you see these kind of cracks in the facade and the misgivings and the way they don't fully communicate how they feel, and they don't work on their own relationship and how it spirals into something very dark at the end. Kate McKinnon, some fun sequences and support, but I really enjoyed Andy Samberg here. He plays Benedict Cumberbatch's friend and sounding board, and then at one point his lawyer. I thought Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman are great here, going back and forth. I thought the writing was crisp. The ending is a little abrupt. It's similar to the ending of the first film. It is not a happy story per se, but I'm giving this one thumbs up. I actually really liked this one. I liked both of these movies, but The Roses is the one I like slightly more. I think they are both well worth checking out. I had fun with them.
Awesome.
I assume you know what it is now?
The Hunger Games.
It is The Hunger Games. That's why I thought the lottery one is like so random.
Yeah.
But then when it says a lot of kids die, there's only one thing it can be, which is really like.
And it's I kind of had a hunch because like I'm picking up on a pattern that these cards are pretty literal.
Yeah,
like you have to think of it. There literally was a lottery draw, and she didn't win it, but she volunteered as tribute. Like. I was sitting here thinking like the Wizard of Oz, like she was down on her luck or whatever, but she ends up defeating the witch and finding her way home. Like the way home was with her all along. So like the wizard didn't give her what she wanted, but she got it anyways. And I'm thinking like, I'm way overthinking this. I should just get the second clue. Like
the other one I considered is a man tries to get fired, but he is promoted instead. But
Fight Club?
Oh no, Office Space.
Oh yeah.
I thought you would have gotten that a little too easy. The hint.
What's the second clue? Yeah.
They launder money.
Yeah. That I would have gotten it.
Yeah. Well, usually the hint kind of gives it away, but
yeah.
Well, before we get out of here, a couple things we'll check in on. I talked about the movie Honey Don't, which comes from Ethan Coen and Trisha Cook. This is the second of their planned trilogy of B lesbian movies. Both you and I saw and talked about Drive Away Dolls. I thought it was okay. I like this one a lot more. I just really like Margaret Qualley.
Yep.
And I thought Charlie Day and Chris Evans were fun here.
Mm-hmm.
But what did you think of Honey Don't?
I really liked it, except for how far overcranked the very ending was. I thought Aubrey Plaza was great. Margaret Qualley was great. I was really on board.
Didn't really fly for me.
There's this similar thing that happened in Drive Away Dolls in this movie where the plot really picks up steam like it's going in one direction, and then that gets subverted and goes in different direction right at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure that it lands. I think when you have a story that's building and picking up steam like that, you kind of want it to, get where it's going. Like she's investigating these mysteries of these murders, and then she has to side check and find her niece. but then that happens to stumble her into the truth that she was never going to find anyways about the mystery. And it just feels like a very rickety, bumpy landing.
Well, and there's a lot of threads in the plot, and they
also,
don't come together.
They
And
don't.
that was kind of a
Aubrey Plaza's motivation doesn't make any sense.
There's basically an entire, what I would consider 50% focus of the movie that is, I guess, charitably to be called a red herring.
Yeah.
When you get to the end. And so that was like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But still, I liked it way better than Drive Away Dolls. I love the pulpiness of it. I love the visuals. I could have done without the extended open credit sequence. I thought it was clever what they did. Maybe you could have done that like 3 or 4 times, but I didn't need the whole thing. The movie's already only like an hour and a half long. Like it didn't.
Not even. I mean, these movies are in the 80 to 85.
Yeah.
I think this one was technically 88.
Yeah.
But 4 or 5 of that is credits.
But yeah, good pulpy. Yeah.
And I do hope they get to make their third one. And we'll see.
I mean, I think they're gonna get to that's the kind of thing, like just on the back of the reputation of Ethan Coen. Like if the
movie's realize how long it's been. So the Coen brothers have not teamed for a theatrical release since 2016. Hail Caesar. They last worked together on the Netflix special, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Right.
2018. That is
still
a long time.
7 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a long time. And I don't see anything on the filmography that indicates they're close to
another project.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he wants to do what he wants to do. And maybe there will be another like reunion thing. Like, I don't know. Like I
just feel like Joel might be happy being kind of like retired.
Yeah,
because he made his that he wanted to make for Apple a couple of years after Buster Scruggs. I think it was pre-COVID. It was Macbeth, the black and white.
Oh, the Denzel Washington one.
Denzel Washington. That was Joel Coen.
Okay.
And I don't know if he's even made anything since that. It's hard because they were a couple of my favorite filmmakers that made some of my favorite films of all time. Yeah, Tragedy of Macbeth. I guess it was post-COVID. It was 21. That is the last that he's done. Well, IMDb says there's one upcoming. Should we feel happy or excited about that potentially? Jack of Spades, which looks like it's just him and not his brothers, but maybe that's where they're going. It's kind of like when you have a band and they break up.
Yeah,
they've done solo projects, and the solo projects are okay, and you see pieces of what you liked about the band, which is how I felt about Honey Don't. There are elements of it, and the whole style of the humor and the dialogue and the crime gone wrong kind of thing.
Yeah,
all reminds me of that. It just doesn't all quite come together.
Yeah.
There is one other thing in theaters this weekend, a movie both of us enjoy, and that is Jaws. It's the 50th anniversary year. You can stream it on Peacock, but it is returning to theaters for a limited engagement starting this weekend. If you have never seen it on the big screen, I actually have seen it on the big screen on one of those rewinds. I think it was for the 45th anniversary. I have seen it before, but if you've never seen it on the big screen, worth checking out. If you want to dive in more, there is a great Jaws at 50 documentary, about an hour and a half. It is streaming on Hulu, has some new interviews, has some classic tales. So if you're a big Jaws fan, there's a lot of things to engage with to celebrate, as it turns 50 years old. And as we all feel older now, thinking about Jaws being 50 years old. So any Jaws thoughts for you?
I love it more every time I watch it. I watched it once when I was very young and it was like fun, but like I never even noticed the thing about the shooting stars. There's 2 like painted in shooting stars in the movie, and like I caught my attention the last time I watched it for 4th of July, and like it's like just like what an impeccable, incredible, like take a chance on a young director and he just like changes the world. Like it's incredible. Oh
My
yeah.
my coffee cup, my summer coffee cup. I watch it every year on 4th of July. So I actually watched it twice on 4th of July this year because I watched it. I always try to give my wife a break because I think she doesn't love to rewatch movies as much as me. And, you know, we've been married long enough that she's probably seen Jaws a dozen times, even though it wouldn't be her canon. So I watched it by myself. And then she had friends over at night. She's like, "Can we watch Jaws?" Oh, sure. So, but if you've never seen it on the big screen, it is nice when they do these rewinds. I have been blessed to see some of my favorite films that obviously came out before I was of theater going age. I've seen that. I've seen Godfather back on the big screen. I saw Silence of the Lambs back on the big screen. It is, even if you've seen these movies hundreds of times or really enjoyed them, being able to see them on the big screen is something a little bit different. So,
Yeah.
well, summer in the books. Get that last barbecue in. Enjoy the rest of your Labor Day weekend. And there are going to be a lot of deep films to look forward to in the fall. You know, one of the deepest is probably The Conjuring Last Rites, which opens. No, I'm just kidding.
I rewatched the third Conjuring movie and I liked it more than I remember. And also it may be the actual only movie that's actually about a conjuring.
You
There's
know,
a witch actually conjuring a demon instead of a demon just like manifesting itself.
I have all the Conjuring movies. I don't have any of them too far apart. The last couple of Annabelle movies were a bit much for me. But I don't love any of them, but I don't have any of them too far apart. They're all like 2.5, 3-star movies for me until you get to like The Nun 2 and the last two Annabelle movies. That last Annabelle movie, I was remembering that Annabelle Comes Home. I'm like, how many times can we go back to the well with this freaking creepy doll?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, if somebody tried to give me a doll like that, I'd be like, thank you, no. You can burn that on the wood chipper out the side. So,
Yeah.
well, as always, good to see you. And
Good to see you.
summer was fun. It's in the
Oh
book.
yeah.
You can check out. A lot of these things are now on streaming or VOD. Well worth checking out. Or if you want to catch one in the theaters, either Caught Stealing or The Roses was fun. Just depends on whether you're looking for black comedy or a little bit of drama. And classic Jaws back in theaters, or if you're just looking for a little bit of a lighter kind of comedy, Honey Don't still in theaters as well. So a lot of options to check out for this long holiday weekend. Hope you guys enjoy it. And until then, we will see you at the movies.